Choose when to explain. Choose who earns access. Choose from clarity, not from fear. I used to believe that if I could just explain myself clearly enough that everything would work out. If people understood my intentions, my timing, my mistakes, my pace, then I would be accepted. I thought clarity would bring peace. Instead, it brought exhaustion. Explaining myself became a nasty habit. Not because I owed anyone answers, but because I didn't fully trust myself yet. Every explanation was a quiet request for approval. Every justification was me hoping someone would say, okay, that makes sense. You're allowed to be where you are. I would literally just hold my breath. Just holding my breath all day, all night, all day, all night. And over time, I noticed something uncomfortable. The more I explained myself, the less grounded I felt. Some people don't want understanding. Some people want leverage. Some people aren't listening to learn. They are listening to respond. They're listening to judge. They're listening to correct you. No matter how carefully you choose your words, the goalposts are always moving. I believe that other people are valuable and what they have to say is valuable, but when your self-respect and your self-silencing starts to come into the picture, then you have to listen more than you talk. Listen more than you explain, so that you can see, okay, is this person just listening to me to correct me? Is this person just listening to me to come up with some snarky comment next? And after they get out that snarky comment, then now they want me to be quiet. Or they want me to adjust myself in a way that isn't very fitting. It's about the fact that being understood by everyone is not the same thing as being at peace with yourself. I stopped explaining myself when I understood that not everyone is entitled to my reasoning. Silence isn't dishonesty, it's discernment. You can be honest without being exposed. You can be kind without being available to interrogation. I cannot stand people who are constantly over interrogating. Like, it makes it really hard to talk like that. Because then you start to realize, okay, some people, they're just so like, when they get into that mode, they just ask questions, ask questions. And they don't even understand that y'all aren't even on the same page. Like, you could be kind without being available to interrogation, because some people are just looking to interrogate the next person, especially when they're not, like I said, on the same page. They just want to interrogate. They treat their mind like the center of the FBI. Growth often looks quiet, or it often is quiet. And quiet growth doesn't come from footnotes. I mean, it doesn't come with footnotes. Like, you don't always know what growth is going to look like. And sometimes that's why you're more ready for growth than you think. There's a hidden cost to over explaining. It keeps you stuck in the past. It seriously does. It seriously keeps you stuck in the past. You know those those deep talks where they talk about our mind doesn't know the difference between the past and the present and the future. It's true, because sometimes when you don't over explain yourself, you're explaining yourself in the back of your mind so that you don't lose your point, right? But some people, they already think that you're like, they already think that you're seeking their approval, which is really like bold of them in the beginning, like to begin with. They're super bold, but they're also trying to like keep you stuck in the past, especially when they're not just consistently growing or thinking deeper, thinking that people think deeper than the surface. When you're constantly explaining who you were and not fully stepping into who you are becoming, at some point your actions need room to speak for themselves. Progress does not always announce itself. Sometimes it just shows up consistently and lets time do the talking. Stopping the habit was not easy to me. It felt uncomfortable at first. It felt like I was doing something wrong by saying less, but I slowly noticed the shift. I had more energy, more focus, more self-respect, and I wasn't shrinking myself into explanations anymore. Like, it's funny because some people think that stuff is reserved for older people, wiser people. It's like, you could be wise today. You could act in that way today, and some people just look at life as a rat race, and they just equate young with dumb, so you'll have more energy, you'll have more focus, you'll have more self-respect, and you can stand in your choices. And that doesn't mean to never communicate, but it does mean choosing to communicate with who you want to communicate with and when you want to communicate. Like, some people listen with care. They don't just listen for weakness. Like, they don't just assume. They don't want you to negotiate your boundaries. Just let people think what they want to think and keep moving. If you're someone who thinks that they need to explain every step of the journey, you don't need to. You don't need permission to grow. You don't need to convince everyone. Peace is worth more than being understood by people who already decided who you are. It's more worth it. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing at all and let life continue to speak.